The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.
And welcome once again to the West Ham Massive. It feels like it's been a long time since I was here, and you guys as well. But thank you very much for joining me. As I always ask you to do, if you're watching live or if you watch this after the event, please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms. It really does help the channel to grow. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. Don't forget to click all. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this particular endeavor. A little bit of housekeeping. I can't lie, I might occasionally let the odd swear word out. So if adult language should offend you, exit stage left. But do us a favor before you go, just drop a like on the stream. That'd be great. We are here to discuss the Premier League, match day 13 of 38, after the international break, where we travel to Lancashire to play our claret and blue cousins from the town of Burnley at Turf Moor, if you please. Please keep your eye on the ticker at the bottom. It will change intermittently with various pieces of information that you might find of relevance, like that. The officials for today. As I say, it will change intermittently, so you just sort of keep an eye out for that. No problem at all. And please get stuck in on the live chat. I'll get your comments up as I go along. As you can see, it's just me here today, so I'm just going to have to sort of talk to myself and talk to you guys and get a little bit of back and forth. So as I say, as much help with that as possible, I'd really appreciate it. And get, with the questions that come up, get stuck into them as we go along. Okay, so let me just go into the live chat and just see who's popped in. Oh, there she is. It's my moderator. How you doing, Happy? Hope you are well. She's got a good feeling about this. That ain't bad, is it? Mark's in the chat. How you doing, Mark? Hope you are well. He's not quite so optimistic, it looks like, but there you go. Happy says, a day of watching the beautiful game and a few beers ahead. Wonder if Bowen will be starting, though. If not, then hope he's available for Europe. Well, we'll have a discussion about that. It wasn't a great international break for us in a lot of ways. All our forward players came back with knocks or injuries of some description. Even one of our centre backs as well. It's just like, oh, for God's sake. But to be fair, we'd had quite a good run. I mean, I think we'd had probably the best injury record of any team in the Premier League up to the international break. It's just our luck that it's all gone bang, 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 bang. You've got an injury to Antonio. You've got an injury to Bowen. You've got an injury to Kudus. You've got an injury to Aguirre. How's your luck? It is what it is. But Maltese, hope you're well, mate. Thanks for joining us. Happy says, I could well be setting myself up for a very shite weekend ahead if this doesn't go to plan. Positive thinking, Happy. Positive thinking. We're going to go there and we're going to do a job. Adrian's in there. Hope you're doing well, Adrian. I feel as negative about today's result as I felt before the Forest game. So hopefully I get it wrong again. Absolutely. Right. I'm just going to break off there. So let's get stuck into this, shall we? So thoughts on the opposition this season. With the greatest respect to Burnley. And obviously I know Dan from Turf Moor House TV. It's a Burnley YouTube fan channel. Go and have a look. Please do. He's a fantastic lad and he's helped this channel out a lot. So, yeah, it's not been a great season for them. I mean, I'm not being funny. Everton got deducted 10 points and Burnley are still bottom. which kind of tells you how bad they've been this season. Like I say, I'm not saying it to be sort of nasty or poke fun at them or anything, far from it. But the fact of the matter is, they have played, 12 games? Yeah, just looking here, 12 games, 1 win, 1 draw, 10 defeats, 9 goals scored in those 12 matches, and 30 goals conceded for a minus 21 goal difference. They are rock bottom of the Premier League on 4 points. Correct me if I'm wrong, they came up as champions, didn't they? And I believe that Vincent Kompany was getting quite a lot of plaudits last season for the way that he was, because obviously before that, Burnley had a very much a reputation of being very sort of football by numbers under Sean Dyche. And I don't mean to be funny, but that's the way it is. I'm just going to get this up on the screen as well. We did this on the last preview, and a lot of you seem to quite enjoy it. So I thought I've kind of jazzed it up a little bit. I've made a few little alterations that some of you suggested, and I've taken those suggestions on board. So going to do this presentation. So that there is the respective records of West Ham and Burnley against each other in the Premier League era. Now, as you can see, we do have an 8-5 advantage in the win-loss column, with obviously 3 draws. It's not a massive advantage over that time. They've managed to take a few sort of wins off of us, but we've got the advantage. The goals column is pretty similar. Penalties won, penalty score, clean sheets, yellow cards, red cards. All that goes out the window. I mean, it's a nice historical sort of talking point, but on the day today, with the two teams, with the teams that they've got on the pitch, on the substitutes they can use from the bench, all the rest of it, all this is pretty, it's nice information, but it's not sort of overly relevant, because sort of, how is a game that occurred maybe 10, 15 years ago going to impact on today? It doesn't really. But there it is for your analysis. But as far as Burnley are concerned this season, as I say, I've got a lot of time for Burnley. I think they've punched above their weight for many, many years. But I think unless something very strange happens, they're going straight back down from where they came. And that's a shame. It is a shame, because they're a well-run club. They're a nice family club. And they've got a manager in Vincent Kompany, who has tried to play decent football. The problem is they're just way too open at the back. They're just not, the goals against column speaks for itself. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the opposition this season. We'll also now get into my little thing of the key combatants, the key players that I believe will be on the pitch. Now, you guys can have a look at that, and sort of like from the stats there, maybe have a little guess in the live chat as to who you think I believe the key combatants will be. Now, the column on the left refers to the West Ham player. The column on the right refers to the Burnley player. And they are the stats, the overview stats from the Premier League website of the 2 players that I believe will be critical. Now, one of them, sadly, the West Ham player, he might not play. I'll openly admit that I actually got this prepped after the Nottingham Forest game and before the England game sort of like started kicking off. And I sort of did it at the time, sort of keeping my fingers crossed. Well, I hope these players are available when we come back. I hope that there's no injuries and all the rest of it. And I'm probably giving you a bit of a clue as to who I might be referring to, or maybe not. You might go one way or the other. As I say, we've got 4 players that came back from international duty with an injury of some description. But the player that I'm going to refer to as a key player is actually got a bit of a knock. So that narrows it down to 1 of 4, doesn't it? And probably it actually narrows it down to one in 3, because I think it's fairly certain that 1 of the 4 we ain't going to see till later on this afternoon. So there you go. I've probably narrowed the field for you. I've probably given you guys a bit of a clue as to who you think the West Ham player is. And if you get the West Ham player right, you could probably make a good guess as who his direct opponent would be. Let's have a little look in the live chat. I'm playing a little game. No. Michael's gone with a gear. Well, no, you're wrong. It's not. That's not the West Ham player that I've gone for. Just having a little look to see if any of you guys have made a suggestion. I can see there's a lot of back and forth. Yeah, I'm good, Darren. Hope you're well. I am all good, my friend. Right, okay. So I've given you guys enough time to sort of do a little bit of a tap, tap, tap on the keyboard and get a West Ham player in. The only one that's played along is Michael. He went with a gear, and with regret, Michael, I'm sorry to say you got it wrong, mate. But the players I'm talking about, I believe, that are going to be key to both teams, actually, Mohamed Kudus and Charlie Taylor. Are you Kudus or are you Kudus or Kudos? How do you guys pronounce it? I speak as I find it. Kudus. Kudus. That's me. It could be wrong. It could be that the Ghanaian pronunciation is Kudus or Kudos or whatever. I mean, Kudos for me would be an O, wouldn't it? I don't know. But anyway, but they're the two players that I think are gonna be absolutely key. Now I'm keeping my fingers crossed, of course, that Mohamed Kudus is gonna be fit for the game. He obviously picked up, I believe it was a back injury on international duty for Ghana during the international break. So, but I think that Charlie Taylor at left back will obviously, if Kudus plays on the right, which I think he probably will, because I don't know. I think that Bowen will be all right. I think that Bowen is every chance of making it for the game later, but I hope so. If he doesn't, I do think that I think one of Bowen or Kudus has to play, because otherwise it's like, well, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, aren't we? Although, having said that, I was on the West Ham network last night with Irish Tommy, and he was really sort of keen to see Maxwell Cornet playing for West Ham. Now, I'll be honest, I almost forgotten about him, if I'm being completely honest. It was like, oh yeah, yeah, and then I sort of stopped and thought about it, and I thought, well, yeah, he could be an option, but you know, you might have a different point of view on it. But Kudus, since he's come in for me, I think he's been a real breath of fresh air. I think he's brought an attacking verve. He's brought a little bit of flair that I think we as West Ham fans of old, that's what we like to see. We like to see a player with a bit of bravery, a bit of trickery, some skills, and all the rest of it, and a bit of courage and determination. And I think this kid shows it. I really do. I like him. He's not the finished article. And I think that with regret, I think that probably by the time he is at his peak, he probably won't be at West Ham. But that's fine. You know, all the time that he's a West Ham player, so long as he puts a shift in and he does everything for the shirt on his back, and he realizes that the name on the front of the shirt is more important than the name on the back. And I'm not talking about Betway or Umbro. I'm talking about West Ham United, of course. Then he'll do for me. So, you know, but Charlie Taylor, now, he's a very underrated left back, in my opinion, in the Premier League. I think he's a decent player. I'm not saying that he's, you know, on the level of some of the top left backs in the Premier League right now, but I don't think that he gets the credit he deserves. That's just my opinion. I think he's a very, you know, very good left back in the Premier League. But he's obviously, if he comes across Kudus, I think that as far as the pace and the trickery and all the rest of it that Kudus brings, Charlie Taylor's going to need to bring his A game. If we can get Joy down that flank, I think that we can really sort of reap dividends. The problem's going to be who out of the four players, and as I say, Kudus unfortunately is one of them. Are they all going to be available, or are they going to be, you know, is David Moyes going to potentially look a little bit down the road? Because it has to be recognised that we are coming into a very, very busy period of not just the Premier League, but obviously we've got 2 Europa League matches coming up, and obviously the League Cup quarterfinal, which I'm going to be going to. And a little bit of a good news, just to sort of break off for a moment onto a bit of a tangent. I got quite lucky again. I went through the club ballot and I got 4 tickets for Fulham away. Well, that's not bad, is it? That's three times in 2 seasons I've got lucky, and I know people that have tried it regular, and have said they've got bugger all. But I must just be lucky. I don't know what it is. But so I'm going to the Fulham game on the 10th of December. So yeah, that'll be nice. But anyway, right, back in the room. The 4 players obviously that got injured, Kudus was one of them. But I think he will play. I don't think it will be enough to keep him out. I do also believe, I personally think that Bowen will start. Antonio's obviously got no chance. He's out. He's done. Naya Faguer is the interesting one for me, because I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not really too fussed if he doesn't play, and that probably sounds really horrible. But I just don't. I'm not too sure that he's quite the player that I hoped and thought he would be when he came in. Now, I appreciate that his West Ham career was hampered by the ankle injury. I get that. But that was last season. This season, he's not looked right. He's made a good few errors. And the problem with a centre-back, and it is one of those things, is if you make an error as a centre-back, it's probably going to result in a goal, or at least you're going to sort of do well to sort of defend an error from a centre-back successfully. So, but he's had a couple of ricks in him this season, where I've thought, not too sure. I mean, my brother Ben obviously has said on a couple of times, he's described as a Rolls Royce defender, and he doesn't think that tag is well deserved. And to be honest with you, on the basis of what I've seen this season, I'm inclined to agree with him. So, Naya Faguer, if he doesn't play, I suspect that it will be Mavropanos that will partner Kurt Zouma. I do think Zouma will be back. I know he missed the game before the international break, didn't he? The game against Nottingham Forest. I've got a funny feeling that Zouma will be good to go. He wasn't mentioned in the press conference that I saw David Moyes give yesterday. So I'm reasonably confident that it will be Kurt Zouma that will come back. He'll skipper the team. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the presentation, by the way. As I say, I've jazzed it up a little bit. I've moved things around and whatever. And obviously I'll have another one in for the match review as well. But I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'm just going to get rid of that there. I'm just going to sort of wind back and just have a little look at what you have been saying whilst I have been waffling on. Happy seems to think Brownhill will score. That's fine, so long as he scores. If he only scores 1 and we score 10, then it doesn't matter, does it? That's fine. Michael, I think they will all be fit except Antonio. Moyes always talks in smoke and mirrors. He does. I remember, I think it was 2 seasons ago, we played Everton at London Stadium, and he seemed to be very doubtful in his pre-match to say that Jared Bowen would be starting. He had an injury or something, and he's probably not gonna blah blah blah. Not only was he in the squad, he fucking started. Yeah, I don't know whether he trained. I don't know. Still from West Ham voice says Kudosh. Kudosh? That's a new one. I've not heard that pronunciation. I don't remember hearing him say Kudos. Kudos. Kudosh? Have I missed that? I might have done. Michael says will be Bowen, Kudus, and Paquetá. Front three, in my opinion, no room for Mabama again. Yeah, well, he's there. I've got him sort of like guarding me, and obviously Josh Cullen, the ex-West Ham player, is just there. Who's done decent since he's gone there, it has to be said. But obviously this season it's gone a little bit wrong. Anybody watching the City game before 3? Yes, 12:30 kickoff, isn't it? That's a bit of a strange time to sort of kick off arguably one of the top games in Premier League season. Manchester City, Liverpool at 12:30. I mean, I don't know whether I got a funny feeling it's probably the police that have probably got involved there, because the last couple of times there's been a bit of spikiness between those two, hasn't there? So I'd imagine that's probably the police sort of saying, "Oh, well, no, we do it on an early kickoff before they can get tanked up and all the rest of it." Let's have a little look. Happy says she honestly doesn't want Bowen to play. The risk of aggravating his knee for this match is ludicrous to me. We have more than enough. Let him rest. Well, there is that. But then again, I would probably also say that, I mean, we're playing the whipping boys of the Europa League, our group, on Thursday. So I'm not being funny. He could get a rest then, couldn't he? Premier League's your bread and butter. Always, always, always. For me, I would go full whack, full gun, toe to the floor for Burnley. And we can make changes against Bacca Topola, quite frankly. Yeah, that's just my take on it. Aguirre can pass the ball though, Rob. Well, he can, but he's a defender. He's not a central midfielder, Mark. You know what I mean? Yes, he can pass the ball, and that's a useful attribute to have. But if he's making mistakes left, right, and centre as a centre back, that's going to lead to goals. Maybe he could be deployed as a defensive mid, because then he's got the centre backs behind him. I actually think that might work. I actually think that instead of putting James Ward-Prowse as the second double pivot alongside Edson Alvarez when he plays a 4-2-3-1, maybe put Mavropanos and Zuma as the centre back pairing and put Aguirre alongside Alvarez. That might work. That might work. Wolf Central Gaming says, I think Kudus is brilliant. Everyone said he had a bad game the other day. I don't think he was bad. He was just playing more defensive. That's probably Moyes getting into him, isn't it? Hopefully he's told to play more through the middle of this game. Well, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Just going down. Great graphics for a Gramps. Oh, well, I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or an insult, Happy. I really don't. I'll take it as a compliment. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. As good as Areola is, he may be our defense problem. Doesn't command his area. I'm not too sure Fabianski did either, though, mate. I'm really not. I mean, everybody sort of noticed that Fabianski was rooted to his line a lot towards for a lot of last season. So I'm not entirely sure that either of them are terribly commanding. But there you go. Happy says, my prediction, Bowen to score first. Will look slow to start with. 25 minutes in, Kudus scores a worldie and a tap in from Ings to finish off with 2-1. Bowen scores today. He sets another record for consecutive away games. Yeah, I mean, he's already the sole holder of that. Obviously, before the game against Brentford, he was co-holder of that record of the consecutive away games that he's a Premier League player and scored in. And he held that record with Thierry Henry and Mohamed Salah, two of the all-time Premier League greats, let's be completely honest. And now, with that last goal against Brentford, he moves away from those and he stands alone. And that's quite a record when you stop and think about it, that no other player has scored as many goals in as many consecutive away games as Jarrod Bowen in the history of the Premier League. And the two guys that have scored one goal less as things stand right now are two of the all-time Premier League greats in Thierry Henry and Mohamed Salah. Let's have a look. Premier League is bread and butter, but we're out Europe, though, Cup or Europe next season. I can see the likes of Kudus, Paquetá, Alvarez leaving. Paquetá's going anyway. So exactly, it doesn't matter with Paquetá then, does it? He's off to Man City in all likelihood. As far as Kudus and Alvarez is concerned, they've got a contract. Now, I know you could turn around and say contracts don't mean anything. Well, they do. It doesn't mean they're not going anywhere, but it means that a buying club has to pay top dollar. If we've got them tied down to a contract that's a 4 or 5 year deal left on it, then they're going to have to pay top dollar to get them out of the club. That's just the way it is. So there you go. Just having a little look here. Hang on just a moment. Where are we? Sorry, I'm just winding through. Oh, Kieran's in. Hello, mate. Hope you're well down there in Oz, near where my sister-in-law lives in Brisbane. It's lovely, mate. Jack and have a shrimp on the barbie. Did you like that? Did did that make your sort of like your heart sing, Kieran? I know you're an East Ender, but you've been living there long enough. You know, did I do the Aussie accent right, mate? It was a little bit Eddie Jones, wasn't it? All right, mate. Enjoying your shows, Gatesy. Hopefully you get to 1,000 by Christmas. Listen, Wolf, that is very nice of you to say so. And it would really help if all of you guys could drop a like on the stream and share us to your socials and do all of that. If we get to 1,000 by Christmas, I'll be happy. If I'm being honest, I will be shocked. I mean, we're at 529 last I looked. Because I went on with what was it? It was the Mount Matty Rushmore with Gonzo, and he gave the channel a little bit of a push on Hammers Chat, which obviously gave us a bit of a momentum shift. And then obviously I went on Claret and Booze with Nick and gave a little bit of a push to the channel there. And the subs just went off of the back of that. Obviously they've slowed down now. I mean, with the international break, to be honest, I didn't really do an awful lot. I took the dog for a walk, and obviously that there's my dog walk videos and all the rest of it that I've done intermittently. But a lot of the time I was getting home from work late, and by the time I was taking the dog for a walk, it's pitch black. So it's like, well, you're not going to really see too much. But I suppose actually that's a bonus. I mean, this is a face for radio, isn't it? Let's be fair. Yeah, no, I know what you mean, mate. It's all good. It's all good. Any FPL tips? Happy? I'm only 247k at the Mo. Well, I don't know what that was. Oh, hang on. Missed the deadline, did we? If Ings is starting, would like to see him in the front two. No point otherwise. Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's just not. He's a piece of the jigsaw that doesn't fit. And I do feel a little bit sorry for him. I mean, all right, it's difficult to feel sorry for someone on 125k a week and they're not playing most of the time. Oh, my heart bleeds. I could sit on the bench for 125k and do fuck all when I get on for the last 5 minutes. But anyway, but yeah, I'd imagine he probably got told certain things when he come into the club, and it doesn't look like they've come to fruition. I'm sorry, Kieran. I thought it was a good one. I thought it was a good impression, but there you go. Up top with Mabama, gives us pace. Ings gets supports needed. Could see some decent football if this is what Moyes goes for. Ings just might get that goal then. You never know. You never know. Right. Okay. Now, I'm just going to go through what I think, what I would put in against Burnley, but then I'll also play the little video piece of what I actually think Moyes will do. So my team, the Gatesy 11 to take on Burnley, I would set up, let me think. Well, Areola goes in goal, so that's fine. And you guys get stuck in with this as well. Give me your formation first of all, and your personnel, right? So I'm gonna go. Do I go old school 4-4-2, or do I go? I've always liked the 3-5-2 formation, to be honest, but that's probably sort of goes back to when Harry Redknapp was the manager and he played 3-5-2 quite a bit. But that was when we had proper, wing backs and not glorified fullbacks. So it was actually a 5-3-2 in essence. But Harry did play a 3-5-2 with proper wing backs. But no, I'll probably go 4 at the back. And whilst I'm thinking of the rest of the formation, I'll just go left to right. We're going to go Emerson. He's been outstanding this season. I don't think there's any doubt that he is the left back. But we do need to get another left back in. And it's not because Emerson's done anything wrong, but Emerson needs some support. And I think that the support he's got in Aaron Cresswell, a player who a couple of months wanted to fuck off, which is very disappointing, that situation sort of bubbled up. And obviously Ben Johnson, who is very likely going to be off in the summer. So it's really his backup options are not great. Ollie Scholes, I'd love him to be the backup option, but he's 16, 17. He's not got any Premier League batches under his belt. That's not his fault necessarily. But I think he needs to go out on loan and be seasoned before we can sort of like put him as a backup left back. So I think we need to get someone in to give Emerson a little bit of backup. But Emerson would be my left back. I would go Zuma and Mavropanos. And I'm not even saying that because of the suspected injury to Naya Figueira. I'm saying that because I don't think Naya Figueira has been good enough. I don't think he's been reliable enough. I think he's made too many mistakes. Yes, I know, Mark, he can pass the ball. I get that. That is an attribute. But fundamentally, first and foremost, a defender needs to be not making those sort of mistakes that he's made this season. So I will go. I'm going to go with Kudus and, as I say, not Kudus, Zuma and Mavropanos as the centre back pairing. Now, which one goes right, which one goes left? To be honest, I think it's a moot point. I don't think it really matters. Right back, I know he got kicked out of the Czech Republic squad, but again, it's one of those. Who else can you put there? Yes, you could put Tilo Kehrer there. Yes, you could put Ben Johnson there. But again, I think that those options at the minute are quite a way back from our first team option, which is Vladimir Kufal. Now, has he been the Kufal of seasons ago? Well, he's got a couple of assists. Let's be fair to him. But I think defensively he can be got at. I think he's starting to come down the hill, and I love Vladimir Kufal, but I do see signs that he's starting to show his age, the mileage on the clock in defensive situations, especially against wingers with rapid pace. He gets found wanting there for me. But Vlad have to play at right back. Here's something, and this is just me sort of veering off into another topic for a moment. I do wonder how the relationship between Vladimir Kufal and Thomas Souček will be going forwards, because don't forget that the captain of the Czech Republic national team is Thomas Souček, and I wonder whether Thomas Souček feels very let down by his international teammate and his club teammate. And if he does, I just hope that doesn't spill over into our dressing room. And I hope that just stays as they can work professionally. I don't know. Maybe they're all right. I'm just putting it out there that he's the international captain, Thomas Souček. Vlad's obviously gone out on the piss. Is he going to feel quite let down by his pal? I think he's every right to, but I don't know sort of all the ins and outs. But fundamentally, he's on international duty. You don't go out on the piss. So, but Vladimir Kufal right. So okay, I'm going to go with a 4-3-3. If this is the Gatesy 11, let's do it my way. 4-3-3 with one of the central mids as a dedicated defensive mid. Obviously, that's Edson Alvarez. Case closed. Move forwards. Central midfield, I would go Lucas Paquetá and James Ward-Prowse. My central striker would be Jared. No, would I put Bowen there? No, this is me. This is my 11. So fuck it, right? I would go Divine Mubama as the striker, right? This is my 11. I know that this isn't going to happen, but fuck it. This is my 11. This is what I would do. I would put Divine Mubama there. Jared Bowen would go on the right, and Mohamed Kudus would go on the left. One other thing that I would do, and I used to do this when I was coaching football teams back in the day, right? The wingers, the two wide forwards, so Bowen and Kudus in this case, every 15 minutes or so during the match, would switch wings. Change the problem for the opposition fullbacks. Present different puzzles for them to solve. Because if you keep doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome, that is the definition of insanity, isn't it? We need to sort of like mix things up. And I just think that's such an obvious change. And I used to do it all the time. Okay, you know, your opposition fullback is now starting to get a grip on you. They're now starting to sort of work you out a little bit, swap over. And especially if you've got a righty on the left and a lefty on the right, and they're cutting in, you swap them over. Now they're going to go around the outside. That's just the way it's going to work. So that would be my 11. And I'm hoping to see that you guys have got stuck in with yours. So let me have a little look. Michael seems to think it's going to be a 4-1-4-1. Boring game, nick a result. Just trying to see if any of you have submitted your teams. Here we go. Happy hasn't let me down. So she's gone. Ari, Kufal, Mavs think Aguirre has a bug. I thought it was a hamstring injury is what I heard. Zuma, Emerson, JWP and Alvarez. mid, Paquetá, Kudus behind Ings and Mabama. So you're going a 4-2-2-2 essentially. So it's quite narrow. So all the width would be coming from the fullbacks there, really. So interesting. Could be an option. It won't happen. Won't happen. You know that. Who've we got? Budgie's in. Thanks for coming, mate. Do appreciate it. Hope you are well. Bowen and Souček to rest for me. Fair enough. Would you have him on the bench? Souček has to start. He will score. He's got a tenner on it, isn't he? He's got a cheeky tenner on it. Cyclops, hope you're well. Yeah, it will be interesting to see of the team who David Moyes puts out, obviously with the injury situation and obviously Europe down the track. Anyway, right. But that's my team. That's my starting 11, right? But do I think that is David Moyes' starting 11, the one that I've selected? No. This is what I think David Moyes is going to select. I've just realised there's a mistake there. That's annoying. That's annoying. I put Saeed Benrahma in. No. Anyway, I think Thomas Souček's going to play. Do I think he should? I mean, he's starting to score goals again, isn't he? I think the problem is that, you know, I think we'll probably get away with it against Burnley. For me, I think that, and again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Burnley. I'm really not. But I think that we can probably get away with having a central midfielder, or whatever his position is, with very limited capabilities in terms of his passing game. I think we can get away with it against Burnley. Against the better teams in the Premier League, that's when he starts to look really out of his depth. Probably that's a bit too much. No, probably out of his depth's unfair. Although some people might say that it isn't. But I think that possibly saying he's out of his depth as a Premier League player against, say, the top 6, top 8, top 10 is probably a little bit harsh. But I do think that obviously his mobility or lack of mobility and his very suboptimal, if I'm being kind, passing abilities, I think that he tends to get found out a little bit in those situations. But this is where we sort of come to the bit where I got to put my head on the chopping block and give you guys what I believe will be the score prediction. And you guys, please feel free to get stuck into this one as well. But before I give the score prediction, I'm just going to sort of give a little synopsis on how I believe this game will go. Now, obviously, Burnley Football Club, it's a tight ground, turf moor. I've never been there, but from what I've seen, it's an old school football stadium from a bit of a bygone era, and I find that very, very I like a little bit of nostalgia, I've got to say. So I think that the atmosphere will be good. You'll have two fans that will be keen to see their team succeed for different reasons. Obviously, if we win we could sort of move up to 7th position. I think it is. Just going to check on the Premier League. I'm sure it was. Yeah, we're on 17 points. I mean, yeah, I don't think we're gonna make 7th position because Newcastle are on 20 points. We're on 17. If we won and they lost, there would need to be a goal swing in our favour in one match of 15 goals in our favour. Well, that's not going to happen, clearly. So I think the best we can hope for is obviously we make it into 8th position when the games are finished this weekend. And that's not bad. That is not bad. I know we had a bit of a wobbly last couple of games before the Forest game, and everybody was, and myself included, was getting quite concerned. But I think that 8th position, 13 games gone, ain't too bad, and we're still in Europe. Obviously, we're still in the League Cup. We've got the FA Cup to come in the new year. So anyway, so back onto the script. I do this quite often. You might have noticed. I'll sort of start jabbering about something, and then I'll sort of veer off course a little bit. It is what it is. So yeah, I think it will be a lively atmosphere. I think Burnley will come out. I think Burnley will come and try and sort of really give us a bloody nose. And bear in mind that they played Arsenal in the last game and they scored first, right? Obviously, they lost the game, but they went to Arsenal, they scored first, and for a period of time, they looked decent value for it. I actually think that there's a very distinct possibility they could do the same against us, for the simple reason that our defence has not exactly been watertight this season. In the Premier League, we've got one clean sheet, I think I'm right in saying, and that was against Sheffield United, who aren't significantly better than Burnley, but there you go. I actually think it's very likely that we will concede because that's just what we do. I think it's probably going to come within the first 10 minutes of the second half because it usually does. I think we're going to go into a 1-0 lead. I think we're going to get in to the changing rooms at halftime with a 1-0 lead in the back pocket. But Burnley are going to peg us back fairly early in the second half because that's, like I say, that's generally been the trend this season. But I think that we will have enough to get 2 more goals before the referee's final whistle is blown. It may well be that we have to rely upon the old thing of the set pieces from James Ward-Prowse and maybe a sort of battering ram header from Thomas Souček or, Mavropanos or someone like that, sort of stealing a march on the Burnley back line. But I do see that we've got too much for them. I do see that we're going to go to Turf Moor and we're going to have enough some way, somehow, to find 3 points, which, like I say, would, if Brighton managed to get less than a win, will mean that we get into 8th position in the Premier League with 13 games played, which I don't think is too shabby. I really don't. But what do you think? I'm just going to come back to the comments section. Let me just get rid of that particular banner. Hang on a minute. Hang on. Right, there we go. I'll get that one going. So just having a little look at the comments. Let me have a look. What do Burnley have? Defence is shocking. Attacking ain't great. Our old Essex boy in mid. Well, there you go. That's one way of assessing it. Not sure Alvarez can play a full game, so worried about the midfield in the second half. I know what you're saying, Mark. He is a yellow card waiting to happen, and we're gonna lose him for a couple of times this season. I think it's fair to say, and hopefully he can get that out of his system, sort of like, But is he going to be the player? It's one of those age-old things, isn't it? It's like Roy Keane. If you took the aggression out of Roy Keane, he wouldn't have been the player that he was. So, Alvarez scored a great goal in international duty. Fair enough. Hope you're feeling better, Budge. Hope you're feeling well soon, mate. No problem. I agree. Not sure of all the negativity, she says. Michael says a rare clean sheet. 1-0 to West Ham. Ooh. I don't know. I say I know their attack hasn't been prolific, and if you like I say, if you look at the Premier League table, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will share it just in case there's anybody that's not particularly up to date on the standings. I'm sure you are, but just in case. There's Burnley. It don't look particularly pretty for them. Everton there with their 10-point deduction find themselves above them on goal difference. I think I won't get into the Everton thing too much, but I do think that Everton. I do think the sanctions a little bit. But I think they're going to get away with it this season because I think there's fundamentally 3 teams over the course of a 38-game season that are worse than them, even with a 10-point deduction. So I think they'll get away with it. I don't think it will result in them going down to the Championship, but it'll be interesting to see their game against Man United later on. Cyclops says, been a couple of times, proper old school ground. Yeah, I like those sort of things, mate. I really do. I like the old sort of tight sort of grounds, compact. There we are, by the way, just to get us in the shot. He says Mark says he's just hit himself with a wet lettuce. He's going for a 1-0 win. Is that Rob with Bert and Ernie in the background? What? Is that Rob with Bert and Ernie in the background? Where's that? I don't know what you're on about there, Darren. I'm sorry. I'm might be sort of misunderstanding. I don't know. It's probably me. It's a big game for Burnley. They'll fancy it. They've had a tough start fixture wise. Well, they have, but their confidence is bound to have taken a knock. We have the same ref as the Arsenal game. Did he really? I didn't pick that one up. I really didn't. Right. Okay. Just before I knock it on the head, I'm just going to do a quick little go through of some team news. I'm just going to sort of have a look here. So, as far as Burnley are concerned, the absentees are going to be, and I apologise if any of my pronunciations are not on the money, to Manuel Benson with an ankle injury, Amin Al-Dakil with it just says here a knock, Hajalmar Ekdal, Hjalmar, is that the pronunciation? It sounds Swedish to me. I don't know. With a knee injury. Those 3 look like they're going to be very doubtful. And it says here Lyle Foster remains absent due to mental health reasons. Again, don't know any more than what I'm reading here, guys. So Connor Roberts and Josh Cullen, they were unused subs against Arsenal. They'll be looking to force their way into the lineup. Whether they do or not remains to be seen. And the 2 players that this particular article I'm reading here says that are vulnerable, they believe, is Vitinho and Josh Brownhill, who obviously Happy mentioned. He's their captain, though, isn't he? I'd be very surprised if Josh Brownhill gets dropped, but we'll see. Says here that Michael Obafemi, didn't he used to play for Southampton? I'm sure he did. He made his first appearance of the season as a late substitute against the Gunners, and it looks like he's going to be vying for the striker role with Jay Rodriguez and Zeki Amdouni. And West Ham, we obviously know that Michail Antonio has got a knee injury whilst he was on international duty. The prognosis is said to be 2 to 3 weeks. Jared Bowen has got a similar problem, but I get the impression from hearing David Moyes on his pre-match yesterday that his injury is not quite as bad, and he's possibly gonna make it for the game against Burnley, but we'll find out at 2:00. Naya Faguer, it says on this particular article I'm reading, he is available despite sustaining a knock on international duty. We'll wait and see. It obviously goes on to say that the potential absences of Bowen and Michail Antonio could see Ings or Kuda start as the central striker. This particular article doesn't make any mention of Divine Mubama. It's as if he doesn't exist. But then again, maybe this article was written by David Moyes. Oh, did I just say that out loud? Yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, there's not really much else to speak of that we haven't already covered. So that's pretty much all the team news as far as that's concerned. Let's just have a look what you've been saying in the meantime. Doku to ruin Alexander-Arnold. Yeah, I'm going to be popping over there to watch that in a minute as well, and I get this wrapped up. Our ref was a fourth official for the Arsenal match. FF 3-3 for me for this one. The mistake Burnley made was they spent 100 million, and the players that they got that got them up were all bench warmers. But maybe they weren't good enough, Michael. Maybe Vincent Kompany knew that they weren't good enough, but the players that come in don't look like they've been good enough either. So it is what it is. Right. I am going to disappear. I think actually though, before I do, there's one more little factoid that I've just been I've been waffling on. I've been trying to remember to sort of click the thing and sort of change the little facts that you've got. You're probably getting bored of them sort of like going round and round and round for 5 minutes. I do apologize. But I just sort of get into a bit of a rhythm and I get sort of chatting and get involved with the live sort of chat and you guys. But let me have a look. There must be something in the air. I've had to reboot my Wi-Fi twice this morning. Ooh. Who are you with, Budge? Is it Sky or I'm with Sky, and I got to be honest, I'm on a contract for however long, and it plays around from time to time. I'm sure there's better deals out there. Maybe someone from Sky's watching. Maybe they might want to, sort of make me an offer I can't refuse. You are very welcome, Happy, and thank you very much for moderating. Not that most of the people that we have turn up get pissed up and start causing a problem. So it's not been very often that she's had to get her leaded weight out of her handbag and clonk people over the head. You may very well say that, Kieran. I could not possibly comment. But anyway, guys, I am going to disappear. But before I do, I'd like to ask you guys very, very nicely, if you wouldn't mind, please put a like on the stream, comment on it, share this stream, subscribe it to the YouTube channel, hit the bell icon for alerts and new content, all that good stuff. You know the drill by now. I'm pretty sure you've heard me say it often enough that you know the drill by now. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say that I thank you very much indeed for your support and for joining me on this match day preview of the game away at Burnley. I'm going to hopefully watch it. I will obviously be in my chateau in Marseille because obviously I can't watch it in the UK on a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Isn't that fucking bizarre? Anyway, I've got that little rant off of my guys. Thanks for joining me. Please don't forget to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. We'll see you for the Burnley review, which will probably be tomorrow. But we'll see. Anyway, come on, you Irons. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.
The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.